Hi guys, welcome back to my video blog. Today I thought I'd share a meditation technique that I use. I don't know where I got it. I've been doing these things for so long, they all start streaming together after a while. I have piles of different approaches which are very helpful for different situations and different types of people. This is one I like to use a lot when I have a busy mind, and I give it to people that have busy minds, which is most people. I call it the no mind meditation. And so what you do to do a no mind meditation, which is again helpful if you're wanting to meditate or you think you can't meditate because every time you try to do it you find that your mind just won't hold still, is you just find a comfortable position. I often do this in the sauna. I lay down in my sauna and I give myself permission to completely relax. And what I do is something that Steiner called sleeping awake. So I just really relax my body. I start by taking, anywhere from 2 to 5 or 6 minutes of just nice, deep, slow breaths, breathing in through the nose. Remember, first 2/3 of the breath should be expansion of the belly. Last third of the breath, the chest. And a simple way to do that, to calm yourself, is just breathe in for 6 seconds, hold for 1, out for 6. There's a variety of different techniques you can use, but you just want to get some carbon dioxide retention to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and calm the sympathetic or fight or flight nervous system for you. And while you're doing that, bring your awareness to your breath. Feel the air moving in through your nose. See if you can feel it tickling the hairs in your nose, moving through the turbinates. Feel your body expanding. And what that does when your mind is busy, it brings your mind to a point of focus, and it gives you a chance to put your awareness on something specific, where if you just sit and try to meditate, your mind will just be popping all over the place like popcorn popping is what typically happens. But when we bring our awareness to a point, we push all that stuff into the background. So you go through that for a while, and as you're feeling calm, then what you do is simply bring your awareness to your inner self. Just feel as you're breathing. Just feel the space inside your body. Feel the dimensions of your rib cage changing as you breathe. Feel the weight of your body, either sitting on the chair or lying on the bench or the ground. Or if you're standing, just feel the weight of your feet your body going through your feet. Excuse me. And just bring your focus to that. And what we're doing is we're giving the mind an activity to do, but we're also using our awareness to become aware of the things that we aren't normally aware of when we're trapped up in our heads. I don't know if you've ever had a wool sweater that's itchy. When you're not talking to somebody or doing something, all you can feel is the itch. It'll drive you crazy. But as someone says, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner tonight?" or something, you forget all about the itch. But then when there's nothing else to focus on, the itch is right back. So we're trying to use these breathing techniques and awareness techniques to ignore the itch of the busy mind, so to speak. Then what you do is, as you calm and bring yourself into your body, you just make an agreement with yourself to let your mind relax. And the kind of the analogy I use is, think of your mind like a muscle. If you've just finished a set, like a hard set of squats or deadlifts, you can go sit on the bench or lay on the floor, and it's very easy to completely just let yourself go and let the weight of gravity hold you to the earth. So when you reach the point where you've gone through these warm-up steps, then what you do is just visualize that your brain is like a muscle and you're just relaxing it. And let your face relax. And another thing is, you'll notice if your mind gets busy, your tongue tightens up. But if you just keep your facial muscles relaxed and just let your tongue stay soft and just keep breathing through your nose and expanding your belly, while you're just relaxing that mind muscle. And hold the kind of concept in your mind that I'm going to fall asleep, yet remain awake. It's also called keeping one eye open, meaning you're going into that brain state that's sleep-like, but keeping one eye open means you're not going to go unconscious. When you sleep, you go unconscious. Then what you do is, if all of a sudden you realize you're thinking about, oh, I got to pay the rent, or I've got to remember to get this at the store, or I can't believe so-and-so said that about me, then what you do is you recognize that. You say, oh, there I am thinking about such and such. But what you want to do is witness yourself thinking. Say, oh, there I am thinking. And you can let it go for a little bit. You can just let the, I call it the dog chasing tires. You can just let the dog chase tires. And so just by practicing being in the witness position and seeing your own mind at work, like you would watch your dog chasing a stick or something, it teaches you to begin separating your sense of self, your identity, your sense of self-awareness from the thinking process, so that you're in a subject orientation and the thoughts become the object. If you're engaged in your thoughts and are not aware that you're engaged in them, or that your whole awareness is in your thoughts, then the thought is the subject and the object, because you're totally trapped in it, meaning that you don't at that time realize the sweater's itching you because you're too in the thought. But when we can witness, and like I said, I call it a dog. When I see my dog running around, I just watch and say, oh, look at my cute doggy, or I'll say, oh, look how beautiful my brain is. It loves to think. It's so good at it. It does it effortlessly. And then I say, okay, brain, let's relax now and take a little break. Or I call the dog Rover. I say, okay, Rover, come on and lay down beside me. And I visualize the dog of my mind coming over and sitting or laying down beside me. And I say, let's just take a nap together and really just enjoy the fact that we have a few minutes here to just let go of the world and let go of thinking and just be with all that is and rest. And so then all of a sudden you'll see Rover chasing after the tires or the sticks, or your mind obsessing over something. And then you say, there I am thinking about something. So you describe it. That's called, Ken Wilber calls that bringing the subject into the object position. So you can't deal with subject unless you objectify it, because it stays in the unconscious. And when you do this, you might often find yourself seeing patterns like, wow, I really have a tendency to be very judgmental about people, or about so-and-so, or I really have a tendency to be insecure and constantly be worried about what someone else thinks about me, and these kinds of things. So you start by going into witness position, being able to see the patterns and the tendencies and the orientations of your thinking process, which shows you where your programming is out. So by naming it and getting behind it, you can then begin to see the pattern. And as you start to see the patterns, you can say, I don't have to feel insecure about that. There's nothing to worry about right now. I'm safe. I'm home. I'm whole. And I can appreciate that that person's loving me the best they can with the upbringing they've had and the spiritual development that they have. So I have to allow them to have their individuality. I don't need to let their opinion be so powerful over me. And then, now that you've objectified it, you just sit back and watch. Now remember, those thoughts are the dog. If you have a hard time, then just see them as the dog and call the dog over, pet it a little bit, and say, let's rest. So over time, you become better and better at taking the witness position or the subject position and seeing your thoughts as the object, where normally your thinking is the subject and what you're thinking about is the object. So if I'm thinking about the camera looking at me, The thought and the experiencer of the thought is the subjective, but the camera is the object. But we have to become aware that there's something behind even our thinking, which is the soul itself, or consciousness, and it's actually the ultimate witness. Because even when we're in a subjective position saying, oh, I'm watching my thoughts, if you practice, you'll see there's something behind you watching your thoughts. And that's a deeper level that you can get to, and a profound level, because then you can find out about who's watching the entire universe and everything in it. So the practice is really just what I've shared with you. And, with the complexity of the world today and people being flooded by so much information technologies and phones and video games and, biohacking and watches that tell you, who scratched the pimple on their ass on the other side of the world, or all these kinds of things. People are just kind of like buzzing with all this screens and all these flows of data, which is really stressful to the mind. And the brain uses a hell of a lot of energy. Some researchers say the brain, when cognitively engaged, consumes about 80% of the available blood sugar at any given moment. So it's organ that only weighs something like 1/25 of your body weight can consume up to 80% of your energy, which is why when you leave school after having a test, or a job where you're having tests, your brain can be your whole body can feel very tired, even though you really just wiggled your pencil a little bit. What'll happen is you'll start having longer and longer periods where things are just completely serene and still. And even 5 minutes in one of those states can have a very regenerative effect on you. It can have an effect as though you've taken a 20-minute power nap or even longer. And when you learn how to do that and you find your mind getting busy and it's winding you up, then you can just, even when you're driving your car, you can say, I'm just going to witness myself driving the car, and I'm going to allow myself to witness my thoughts. And when I see Rover going crazy chasing after shit and biting things, I'll just pull back and witness. So that way you overcome the sort of stigma with meditation that you're supposed to stop your mind. You can't stop a mind any more than you can stop the weather. Minds are made to think. Wheels are made to roll. Dogs are made to bark. But what you can do is you can learn to disassociate yourself from it. And when you don't put energy into it, you'll find that it fizzles out, because you are the source of the energy that drives that thinking process. Then you begin to get more and more of these periods of serenity. And serenity is very much related to surrender. And sometimes when we try to control everything in our lives, it can burn us out. And we get in the habit of trying to obsess over control issues 24 hours a day, even in our sleep, and it leads to low quality sleep. But when we gain serenity, we can let go of control, even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes, and be brave enough to let Mother Earth carry the weight of us, and let Father Sky carry the weight of your mind, because in alchemy, the air element's related to mind. And just give yourself permission to really fully engage in rest from mental activity. And because the mind is fused intimately with the body, and the body mirrors the activity of the mind, as your mind calms, your body relaxes. And you'll start finding all sorts of neat things happening, like areas in your body that used to hurt stop hurting, because you didn't realize you were holding on to emotional reactions there, and you were armoring, you were bracing yourself for what you're projecting forward as though it's a real threat. But as Zig Ziglar says, most people's fears are just false evidence appearing real. So they wind themselves about all sorts of hypotheticals, that most of which never happen, but they can burn themselves on an endless stream of hypotheticals, such as knowing you're going to meet somebody you have a disagreement with, and going through all the arguments in your head of all the ways you're going to box them in and tangle them, which is really a total departure from the now. And it's also shows a lack of trust in your capacity for relationship, and it also shows that you're actually tricking yourself into believing that you really understand what their wants, feelings, and needs are, when you can never know that until you're fully present with somebody. You can only create illusions. So I hope you enjoy practicing these techniques of what I call no-mind meditation. I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Hope you're enjoying my podcast, Living 4D with Paul CHEK. It's on most podcast outlets, iTunes. It's at the CHEK Institute website, CHEK On the homepage, click the podcast tab. Lots of amazing podcasts with amazing people. And for those of you that are looking for a good grounding in the essentials of how to live a holistic life and get yourself healthy efficiently and effectively, I would encourage you to look into my Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online program, which you can do 24 hours a day from anywhere with an internet connection and even on your phone. So thanks for joining me today. Lots of love. See you next time.